have a daughter with top-tier movie star Luis. But Luis never allows our daughter to call him dad. Nor does he ever acknowledge our relationship in public. Compared to me and our hidden daughter, his first love, who just returned from abroad after a divorce, and her son are treated like royalty by Luis. He is recognized by the media and fans as the perfect father and devoted boyfriend. Later, during a live broadcast, this man knelt in front of our daughter, his voice filled with desperation. "Sweetheart, please, just call me daddy once." Our daughter, Sophia, tilted her head and replied calmly, "Uncle, are you joking?" Chapter 1. I took my daughter, Sophia, to the mall to buy clothes when we stumbled upon a promotional event featuring Luis. Seeing the massive advertisement of him, my 5-year-old daughter couldn't help but exclaim, "Mommy, it's Daddy!" The moment the words left her mouth, she immediately covered her lips in fear. I knew why. Once, when Sophia called Luis Daddy at home, he locked her in a storage room for an entire night. By the time I broke the iron lock and rescued her, she was trembling all over, her bright, clear eyes filled with terror. She kept muttering the same sentence over and over again. "Not Daddy, it's Uncle, Luis Uncle. Not Daddy, it's Uncle, Luis Uncle." Watching my daughter instinctively suppress her emotions, I pulled her into my arms, my heart aching beyond words. "Sophia, sweetie, let's go get some ice cream." I just wanted to leave with my daughter as quickly as possible. But before I could react, we were swept into the crowd by a wave of excited fans. Today, Luis was here to cut the ribbon for a luxury children's clothing brand. Beside him stood Camila, the woman he had once desperately loved and the very person he could never forget. She had just returned from abroad, and she was also the owner of this brand. Between them stood a little boy, about the same age as Sophia. The child glanced around before wrapping his small arms around Luis's arm. "Luis, Daddy, carry me." In front of countless cameras and adoring fans, Luis smiled and lifted Oscar into his arms. Camila naturally hooked her arm through his, completing the picture of a blissful family of 3. This sight was a knife to my heart. Sophia curled into my embrace, staying silent. Yet her trembling little body told me everything. My precious daughter was crying. Chapter 2. Back in the day, Luis and Camila were the golden couple of the entertainment industry, a true fairy tale. Any film or TV series they starred in became an instant hit. Fans shipped them so hard, they practically wanted to move the Civil Affairs Bureau right in front of them. For years, their on-again, off-again rumors dominated major media headlines. Just when they were about to go public with their relationship, Camila abruptly announced that she and Luis were just friends and swiftly exited the industry to go abroad. Soon after, paparazzi caught her overseas, cozying up with a financial tycoon at a luxury mansion. Crushed by heartbreak and betrayal, Luis got into a car accident. His right leg was severely injured, requiring 2 major surgeries under general anesthesia within 4 days. During the ordeal, his will to live was weak. To save him, as someone who had secretly loved him for 10 years, I got the company's permission to enter the ICU, where I mimicked Camila's voice daily, encouraging him to hang on. Thanks to my efforts, Luis regained consciousness. At the peak of my own career, I put everything on hold to care for him. During this time, Luis repeatedly asked if Camila had visited while he was unconscious. To encourage his recovery, I lied, saying Camila had come but left quickly, promising to wait for him abroad. With that hope, Luis's recovery accelerated. But on the day of his discharge, he accidentally learned from his assistant that it had been me impersonating Camila during his coma. That night, Luis pinned me to the bed, his eyes filled with a dangerous glint. "You like playing Camila, don't you? Tonight, I'll make you her completely." I didn't know if he was punishing me or Camila, but he took me 5 or 6 times that night. It wasn't until I passed out from exhaustion that he finally stopped. A month later, I found out I was pregnant. To my surprise, Luis wanted me to keep the baby. I thought he might actually like children. But when I saw the news of Camila's pregnancy in the papers, I realized Luis was just acting out of spite. During our 6 years of secret marriage, Luis always believed I had schemed my way in while he was unconscious, leading to his cold attitude toward Sophia and me. I once thought that if I behaved well enough, I could win him over. But now, seeing him openly embracing another woman's child in public, all those self-deceptive fantasies have shattered. The difference between love and indifference is truly vast. Chapter 3. I brought Sophia home and, after comforting her, retrieved the divorce agreement that Luis had signed long ago from the study. When Sophia was born, I had hoped he would be by our side. Instead, Luis presented me with divorce papers, demanding my signature. Terrified, I immediately fell silent. From then on, whenever I made requests he deemed excessive, he would threaten me with those papers. Gradually, I became mute in his presence. Looking at his signature on the divorce agreement, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Starting today, he can no longer control me, because without love, there is no vulnerability. I intended to hand him the divorce papers personally, to put an end to this fruitless relationship. But 3 days passed without him returning. I called his agent, only to be told that Luis had been busy securing a lead role for Camila. I hung up with a bitter smile. Once, I had hoped Luis would speak to a director on my behalf for a supporting role. Predictably, he refused. His reason was grandiose. Doing so would be unfair to those hardworking actors. I was convinced by his reasoning, feeling despicable at the time, but now I realize, only those unloved are expected to play fair. Camila, however, is his exception. Capítulo 4. Al no poder contactar a Luis, decidí no esperar más. Fui al jardín de infancia de Sofía para gestionar su retiro. La maestra me dijo, Señora, la próxima semana es la exposición de arte de los niños. Sofía tiene mucho talento y ganó el primer premio en el concurso de dibujo infantil del distrito. Sería ideal que participara antes de irse. Sería un cierre perfecto para su etapa aquí. Except sin dudar. Sin embargo, lo que menciono después me preocupó. Para esta actividad, la escuela requiere la presencia de ambos padres. La participación de ustedes es crucial para la educación de Sofía. Sabía que Luis no vendría. En ese momento, Sofía me tiró de la ropa con una mirada llena de esperanza. Lo que me llevó a intentarlo una vez más. Después de 6 años de matrimonio, le envió Luis un mensaje largo explicando la importancia de la actividad y asegurando que sería la primera y última vez que le pediría algo así. Le prometí que después de la exposición, Sofía y yo desapareceríamos de su vida. Envié el mensaje y, hasta la medianoche, no obtuve respuesta. Finalmente, luego su contestación, Luna, eres una manipuladora. Usas nuestra hija como excusa. Nunca serás reconocida como mi esposa. Será mejor que desaparezcas ahora y para siempre. Chapter 4. If Luis won't come, then I won't wait any longer. I went to the kindergarten to complete Sophia's withdrawal paperwork. Sophia's mom. Next week is the children's art exhibition. Sophia is very talented in painting. She even won first place in the district's kindergarten art competition. We hope she can stay to participate in this exhibition before leaving. After all, this would be a great encouragement for her and a perfect ending to her learning experience here. Hearing the teacher's suggestion, I agreed without hesitation. But what she said next put me in a difficult position. For this event, the school requires both parents to attend. After all, parental involvement is crucial to a child's education. I didn't even need to ask, I already knew Luis wouldn't come. Just then, Sophia carefully tugged at my sleeve. Her eyes, filled with longing, made me determined to fight for her. Just this once, after 6 years of marriage, for the first time, I sent Luis a message over 100 words long. I explained, in detail, the significance and importance of this event. At the end, I promised him that this would be the first and the last time. After this exhibition, Sophia and I would disappear from his world forever. The message was sent. It wasn't until late at night that I received a response. Luna, you manipulative bitch. Using the child as an excuse, how shameless can you be? If you're trying to publicly declare yourself as Mrs. Luis, forget it. That will never happen in this lifetime. You'd better disappear right now and never show up again. Chapter 5. Luis not showing up was something I had expected. The same old excuses, Sophia had already memorized them by heart. On the day of the art exhibition, Every other child was accompanied by both parents. Only Sophia stood beside me, alone. Not wanting her to have any regrets, I decided to call Luis again. Luis, can you? Luna, will you ever stop? Weren't you the one who wanted to disappear? So why are you still shamelessly clinging to me? With that, he hung up, feeling utterly disappointed. I took a deep breath, forced a smile, and led Sophia into the exhibition hall. Just then, a commotion erupted outside. Isn't that the famous movie star Luis? Why is he attending a kindergarten event? I heard his child studies here. Oh my God, the award-winning actor is actually married with kids? How did I not know about this explosive news? Hearing the chatter among the parents, I was filled with confusion. Just moments ago, he had spoken so harshly to me. Why was he suddenly here at the kindergarten? Could it be that he had changed his mind and decided to surprise Sophia? The moment Sophia heard the news, she was already running excitedly toward the entrance. Daddy! Daddy's here! Luis is my daddy. Her words had barely left her mouth when someone scoffed. Little girl, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want. Calling every man you see daddy, is that how your mother raised you? I'd love to see what kind of woman could raise a child like this. Maybe her mother is just some home-wrecking mistress. Hearing those cruel words, Sophia stomped her feet in anger. My mommy is not a mistress. My mommy and daddy are legally married. Luis is my daddy. I'm not lying. At her declaration, the group of parents burst into mocking laughter. Little girl, take a good look over there. That is Luis's real child. His mother is also a famous actress. She and Luis are the perfect match. Following the direction of their pointing fingers, Sophia turned her head. Her body instantly stiffened. Tears blurred her vision. Chapter 6. Luis, surrounded by a crowd, walked toward us, holding Oscar's hand. Beside him, Camila smiled gracefully, her arm linked with Luis's. Oscar, claiming he was tired, whined and refused to walk any further. Without hesitation, Luis bent down and lifted him into his arms. His gaze was full of tenderness and affection Sophia had never seen but had yearned for every single day. Sophia! The moment she saw me rushing over, she ran into my arms. Her tears soaked through my clothes, filled with sorrow and grievance. Mommy, why doesn't Daddy love me? If I did something wrong, I can change. I just want Daddy to hold me too. Sophia's voice was barely above a whisper, as if afraid others might hear. My heart ached as I held my daughter tightly. Forcing myself to suppress my sorrow, I gently reassured her. Sophia, you're perfect just the way you are. There's nothing you need to change. It's just that Daddy's eyes aren't good. He can't see how wonderful you are. Amid the lively atmosphere, the sight of Sophia and me huddled together only made us seem more pitiful and out of place. Luis and his family became the center of attention at the art exhibition. Meanwhile, I quietly sat with Sophia in the corner. It wasn't until the award ceremony began that Luis even noticed us. His brows furrowed tightly when he saw Sophia walking onto the stage to receive her award. Before the ceremony even ended, Luis abruptly left his seat. The moment he stepped out, Camila, holding Oscar's hand, gracefully wove through the crowd and approached us. Miss Luna, what a coincidence! Chapter 7. I shifted to the side, putting some distance between us. Hello. Camila's fake smile remained intact despite my polite but distant attitude. I didn't expect your daughter to be studying here as well. Oscar just transferred in recently. I have a small favor to ask. Would you be willing to agree? Without waiting for my response, she continued speaking as if my answer was irrelevant. Since the two children will be attending the same kindergarten, it's inevitable that they'll run into each other. I don't want Luis to feel uncomfortable, so I'm asking you to withdraw your daughter from the school. I had already completed Sophia's withdrawal paperwork, but now, seeing the arrogance in Camila's demeanor as she acted like she had the right to command me, I couldn't help but ask. And what gives you the right to ask me to remove my daughter from the school? By now, the nearby parents had noticed our conversation, their curious gazes turning toward us. Camila, seeing the attention, quickly put on an expression of false concern. Miss Luna, don't misunderstand me. I'm only thinking about the children's well-being. Surely you wouldn't want your daughter to have to fight over a father in front of her classmates, would you? After all, being called a bastard child is hardly something to be proud of. Hearing this, I let out a cold laugh. You're right. Being called a bastard child isn't something to be proud of. So tell me, how do you have the audacity to bring your child into public? Camila's face darkened instantly. What do you mean? Are you calling my child a bastard? Luis and I are truly in love. You were the one who took advantage of the situation and forced your way into our relationship. Then you got pregnant out of wedlock and used that child to climb the ranks. If Luis wasn't soft-hearted, how could he have tolerated you for so long? Chapter 8. As soon as Camila finished speaking, the surrounding parents began whispering and pointing at me. So she's a homewrecker who forced her way in, and she still has the audacity to act arrogant? She looks familiar. Isn't she an actress? Oh, I remember her. She was pretty talented, but she suddenly disappeared from the industry 6 years ago. Turns out, she left to become someone's mistress. And her child even goes to this school? Disgusting. Which one is her daughter? I need to warn my son to stay far away before he gets dragged into some mess. Hearing their harsh words, I saw the smug satisfaction spread across Camila's face. Of course, I wasn't going to let her be pleased for long. I swung my arm and slapped her across the face with all my strength. Camila staggered and fell straight to the ground. Slap! The crisp sound echoed, and a burning red mark formed on her cheek. Camila sat there, stunned. You actually hit me? The crowd immediately erupted into chaos. Unbelievable! The homewrecker is resorting to violence now? I'm calling the police. A woman like this belongs behind bars. I didn't stop anyone from making the call. Instead, I smiled faintly and slowly approached Camila, who was still on the ground, her expression turning to panic. What are you doing? I didn't bother answering. Lifting my high heel, I drove a sharp kick straight into her stomach. Ah! Camila let out a painful shriek before curling up on the floor. I withdrew my foot and looked down at her. What am I doing? Oh, just giving a homewrecker the beating she deserves. The moment those words left my mouth, the crowd went silent in shock. Wait, who's actually the homewrecker here? Amid their confusion, I pulled out my marriage certificate from my bag and flung it at Camila's face. This is my marriage certificate with Luis. I didn't know being legally married made me the homewrecker. Chapter 9. The entire crowd erupted into chaos. This was an elite kindergarten. Every child here came from wealth and privilege. And among the well-dressed women in attendance, at least 80% had experienced the devastation of a homewrecker meddling in their marriages. That was why they had initially lashed out at me with such hostility. But the moment I threw out my marriage certificate, their jaws dropped in shock. Oh my God. I've never seen a mistress be this shameless, openly cursing the legal wife. This woman has no shame at all. If it were me, I'd have found a hole to crawl into and never come out. Poor Mrs. Luis. She's been publicly humiliated by the mistress like this. Honestly, that slap was too light. She should have kicked her a few more times. And where there were people talking, there were people taking action. Several furious mothers swung their designer handbags and started hitting Camila. In the midst of the chaotic beating, Camila screamed at the top of her lungs. Luis and I are the ones who truly love each other. The only reason he married you was because you were my substitute. He has never loved you. The one who isn't loved is the real homewrecker. This time, I didn't even need to respond, someone else did. If you were truly in love, then why didn't you end up together? I remember reading in the news that you were the one who ran off to another country and got married first. What now? Your marriage didn't work out, so you came running back to ruin someone else's family? A woman like you is the definition of shameless. Just then, Oscar suddenly broke through the crowd. You bad people, stop hitting my mom. I'll tell my daddy Luis to deal with you all. He's a superstar. Hearing the child's words, the angry parents stopped their attacks, but their mocking words did not cease. Chapter 10. A perfectly good child ruined by this disgraceful woman. Now he's running around calling random men dad. Honestly, this kid doesn't even look like Luis. Who knows whose bastard he really is? If you're being polite, you call him an illegitimate child. If you're being honest, he's just a bastard. If my husband ever dared to bring home a bastard, I would strangle him on the spot. No way would I let him prance around like this. Amid the barrage of insults, Camila held Oscar tightly, desperately trying to defend herself. We may not have a marriage certificate, but we have love. The one who isn't loved is the real homewrecker. Now that I'm back, she should be smart enough to divorce him and stay far away from Luis, instead of shamelessly clinging to him and ruining our happiness. Her words only further enraged the surrounding parents. The ones who had previously stepped back surged forward again, clawing at her face and yanking at her hair. Amid the chaos, I scooped up Sophia, who was still holding her trophy. "Mommy, what's happening over there?" "They're teaching a drowning rat a lesson." As I stepped out of the exhibition hall, a group of security guards rushed inside to break up the commotion. They began dispersing the crowd, dragging a battered and bruised Camila out of the mess. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. At the kindergarten entrance, I had just started my car when I saw Luis rushing inside, carrying a large gift box in his arms. He must have been worried that Camila's child would be upset about not winning an award, so he had hurried out to buy a present to comfort him. How ridiculous. His own biological daughter had never once received a gift from him, not for her birthdays, not for holidays, not ever. Yet now, he was scrambling in a panic just to console someone else's child. What good was a man like that? Chapter 11. I didn't go back to the villa. Instead, I drove straight to my best friend Roma's house. Roma was my manager back in the day, when I married Luis. I gave up my career and became a full-time housewife. Roma was furious. She scolded me for months, calling me a hopeless fool in love. "You let romance rot your brain. You ruined a generation's top actress." Back then, I brushed off her words with a laugh. Looking back now, I wish I could travel 6 years into the past and beat some sense into my love-struck self. Roma was on break recently, so when I arrived at her place with Sophia, she happened to be home. I didn't waste time. "Take care of her for a while. I have something to take care of." Roma narrowed her eyes. "What are you up to?" She knew everything about my situation with Luis, so I didn't bother hiding it from her. "I'm going to make Luis pay for every single humiliation I've endured." Roma's eyes widened in disbelief. What made you change your mind?" I glanced toward the living room, where Sophia was already curled up on the couch, watching cartoons. Lowering my voice, I murmured. Sophia cured my foolish love-struck brain. "Luis can humiliate me all he wants, but I will not let my child suffer." Leaving Roma's house, I pulled out the plane tickets I had booked in advance. I ripped them up and threw the pieces into the trash. I had originally planned to escape with Sophia, but now, I was going to give both her and myself the justice we deserved. Chapter 12. The surveillance footage of me beating up Camila at the kindergarten had been maliciously edited and uploaded online. In the video, I was portrayed as a scheming homewrecker who had shamelessly forced my way into their relationship. Camila even went so far as to hire an army of fake accounts to manipulate public opinion, shifting the blame for her past decision to marry someone else abroad onto me. Luis? He played along with her perfectly. In front of the cameras, he boldly declared that his love had never wavered, that I was the one who had clung to him relentlessly. He even threatened that I would pay dearly for the assault. Together, they put on a perfect performance, a pair of star-crossed lovers, tragically torn apart. And just like that, I became the public enemy, the homewrecker despised by thousands. Comment section. This woman has no shame, not even a shred of decency. She looks so familiar. I feel like I've seen her before. Oh my god. I remember her. She starred in a hit drama 6 years ago. She was super popular back then. I always wondered why she suddenly disappeared. Turns out, she quit to become someone's mistress. I heard she got pregnant out of wedlock and forced the best actor to marry her. My poor destined lover's CP was destroyed by this vile homewrecker. A woman like this will raise nothing but garbage. Her daughter is probably going to grow up to be a man-stealing vixen just like her. I hadn't expected Camila to dare repeat her lies online after being exposed at the kindergarten. She must have gotten brain damage from the beating, since she had no shame. Then I wouldn't hold back either. I uploaded a picture of my official marriage certificate with Luis, along with a caption. I was merely fighting back against the mistress my own husband was keeping outside. Chapter 13. I had barely posted my response when people started sharing and supporting my statement. When I clicked on their accounts, I realized they were all kindergarten moms who had witnessed everything firsthand. These were wealthy, influential socialites with both time and money on their hands, and now, they had taken it upon themselves to dominate the public discourse, rallying behind me and crushing Camila's narrative. Camila's paid trolls? Terrified, one by one, they retreated into silence, too afraid to keep pushing their false accusations. Seeing this unexpected wave of support, I decided to strike while the iron was hot. I took action on two fronts. I hired a seasoned paparazzo, one of the best in the industry. I made a few well-placed phone calls to some key investors. Within hours, Luis's funding was pulled from multiple projects. For 6 years of marriage, Luis never realized the only reason he thrived in the entertainment industry, the only reason millions were funneled into his career, was because of me. Without my influence, without my connections, would he have had access to endless resources and opportunities? Of course not. And just like that, Camila's scandals exploded across the internet. Trending headlines: award-winning actor's mistress, a repeat cheater exposed. Superstar Luis unknowingly cuckolded, the real father of Camila's child remains unknown. Underneath these headlines were leaked divorce papers, proving that Camila had been caught cheating during her marriage and was forced to sign an agreement leaving with nothing. There were also countless scandalous photos and videos of her with different men. Women flooded the comments section, tearing Camila apart. Meanwhile, men? They were frantically downloading the leaked files. Chapter 14. I had expected Luis to spend money to wipe Camila's scandal off the trending list. But an entire day passed. Not a single word. The two scandalous headlines remained pinned at the top, completely untouched. It wasn't until evening that I finally understood why Luis had stayed silent. A new trending video had taken over the internet. The video had been captured by a random passerby at a hotel lobby. In the footage, Camila, bruised and battered, was snuggled up in Luis's arms. The two were openly flirting in public, completely indifferent to the fact that Oscar was sitting beside them. Just when the scene looked like a perfect reunion of star-crossed lovers, the unexpected happened. A scruffy-looking man, dressed in ragged clothes with a thick, unkempt beard, suddenly charged into the frame. Without hesitation, he grabbed Camila by the hair and dragged her to the ground. His voice was laced with fury as he spat out accusation after accusation. "You filthy whore! You seduced me back then because I had money. I divorced my wife for you because you gave birth to my son. And how did you repay me? You ran away with my money and my child. I went looking for your ex-husband, and he told me you had already returned to this country. If it weren't for your scandal blowing up online, I wouldn't have known how long you were planning to hide. So this is where you've been, raising my son with my money while playing house with some pretty boy? Today, I'm going to skin you alive." Camila, still being yanked by the hair, struggled desperately, clawing at the floor. "You've got the wrong person. I don't know you." The man let out a sinister laugh. "You don't know me? Fine, I'll make sure you remember me today." With that, he raised his fist, aiming straight for Camila's face. Luis reacted instinctively, grabbing the man's wrist mid-swing. Where the hell did this lunatic come from? "Security! Get him out of here!" But before the security guards could arrive, the man suddenly flung a stack of photos at Luis's face. The pictures scattered across the ground. At first glance, every single photo was of Camila and this man, sharing intimate moments. Among them were even pictures of a newborn baby in the hospital. Chapter 15. You pretty boy. Did this bitch fool you too? Go check the trending news yourself. With that, the scruffy man resumed his assault on Camila, striking her without hesitation. "Luis, save me! I'm being framed!" But at that moment, Luis wasn't listening anymore. His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone. The moment he unlocked the screen and saw the headlines, his entire body stiffened. "Daddy Luis, I'm scared." A small, timid voice cut through the chaos. Luis turned his head and saw Oscar trembling behind the sofa, his big eyes filled with fear. Then, he glanced back at the scruffy man's face, a face that bore a striking resemblance to Oscar's. Luis's rage ignited instantly. Without thinking, he lunged forward and yanked the man off Camila. Gasping for air, Camila immediately clung to Luis's leg, sobbing uncontrollably. Blood, tears, and snot smeared all over Luis's custom-made suit. Luis, thank you for saving me. I knew you still loved me. Before she could finish her sentence, Luis's hand shot out and gripped her throat. He tightened his grasp, his fingers pressing harder and harder against her skin. Camila's face turned a sickly shade of blue and purple as she struggled for breath. Camila. Luis's voice was eerily calm, filled with suppressed fury. You told me Oscar was 6 years old, that he was ours, and I believed you. But why does his birth certificate say he's only 5? You swore you loved me, but you've been with so many men. Tell me, what did you take me for? A goddamn junk collector? Chapter 16. Luis's face remained eerily calm, but the merciless glint in his eyes made Camila shudder. She knew she was finished, but she refused to accept defeat without a fight. Luis, let me explain. I had no choice. I owed a massive debt in Vegas. I had no other way out, so I had to leave the country. I married my ex-husband to make him pay off the loan sharks. As for the other men, I was desperate. I needed money, so I had to find a way to get it from them. But you have to believe me, they meant nothing. You're the only one I truly love. You still love me too, don't you? I know you only married Luna because she was my substitute. You were married. I was married. You have a child. I have one too. We're even now. Let's forget the past and start over, okay? Before she could finish, Luis shoved her to the ground. Don't you dare mention Luna. You're not worthy. His voice was filled with pure disgust. Because of you, I neglected my wife and daughter for so many years. You were the reason for it all. Then, without hesitation, Luis kicked her, hard. Camila let out a weak cry as her body curled up in pain. Her breathing became shallow. Seeing that she no longer had the strength to fight back, Luis finally withdrew his foot. The scruffy man stepped forward, taking in the scene with a mocking smirk. Camila, this is exactly what you deserve. From what I've heard, your ex-husband has already sent people after you. He's planning to hand you over to the loan sharks. I think I'll do the same. The moment those words registered in Camila's mind, her body went limp. She fainted on the spot. Chapter 17. A sleek black sports car tore through the bustling streets before screeching to a halt in front of a luxurious villa. Luna! Sophia! Luis shouted their names as he rushed inside, but the only response was the echo of his own voice. Frantically, he searched every corner of the villa. It wasn't until he opened the closet and found it completely empty that his legs gave out, and he collapsed onto the floor. In another home, Roma held up her phone, watching the security footage of Luis. She turned to me with a raised brow. Looks like he finally realized your worth. Are you sure you don't want to forgive him? For Sophia's sake, to give her a complete family? Without hesitation, I turned off the phone and tossed it onto the couch. Once a heart turns cold, it can never be warmed again. It's far too late for that. For the next few days, Luis's calls never stopped. My phone blew up with messages, one after another, non-stop. I blocked him. He just changed numbers and kept calling. Eventually, I got fed up and threw away my SIM card altogether. Meanwhile, thanks to the Luis and Camila scandal, my name had resurfaced in the public eye. An old director acquaintance reached out, inviting me to an exclusive talk show, one focused on women, marriage, and self-worth. They even requested that I bring Sophia along. I had no problem with the interview itself, but letting Sophia appear on television? That made me hesitate. Yet, the moment Sophia heard she could be on TV, she lit up with excitement and talked about it for days. Chapter 18. Somehow, Luis found out that I was bringing Sophia to a live talk show today. Before the recording even started, he barged into the studio. The director tried to stop him, about to remind him that the show was already being broadcasted live. But before he could get a word out, Luis shoved him aside. Luna! Sophia! I finally found you. He rushed onto the stage and pulled me into a tight embrace. I struggled violently and kicked him hard in the knee. Luis let out a pained grunt and fell to one knee. Luna, I know I was wrong. Please don't be mad at me anymore. Instead of getting up, he grabbed my hand, kneeling in front of me like a desperate man proposing. Luna, I know you love me, otherwise, you wouldn't have been there for me during the lowest point of my life. You stayed by my side through my long and painful recovery at the hospital. Then you gave me Sophia, you gave me a warm home. No matter how late I came home, you were always there, waiting for me in the living room, cooking a bowl of noodles for me. His voice was filled with nostalgia and regret. But I didn't hesitate. I yanked my hand out of his grip and slapped him across the face. A loud smack echoed through the studio. Oh, so you weren't blind or deaf after all? You actually saw how much I loved you? Then tell me, why did you give me 6 years of emotional neglect? If you didn't love me, why did you get close to me? Why did you let me get pregnant? Was I really that worthless to you? Chapter 19. Live comments. A textbook scumbag, keeping a wife at home while fooling around outside. He used Luna as a backup. And now he's acting like a devoted man? Disgusting. Cancel Luis. Get this trash out of the entertainment industry. The studio's large screen displayed the live comments, rolling endlessly. Only now did Luis realize this was a live broadcast. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. His image was already destroyed. Now, his only option was to salvage his reputation, somehow. Seeing that I refused to give in, he turned to Sophia. Sophia, I'm your daddy. Daddy misses you so much. He reached out, moving to embrace her. Sophia's eyes widened in fear, and she immediately ran behind me. Live comments. A child's reaction never lies. He's clearly never been a father to her. Poor little Sophia, the fear in her eyes almost made me cry. Luis's face stiffened with guilt and embarrassment. Still, he pressed on. Sophia, I know I neglected you because of work, but I've realized my mistake now. Will you give Daddy another chance? Be a good girl and call me Daddy, okay? The moment he said that, Sophia blinked her big tear-filled eyes and whispered hesitantly, Uncle, are you joking? Luis stiffened. I'm not Uncle. I'm your daddy. Sophia suddenly screamed in terror. No, you're Uncle, not Daddy. If I call you Daddy, I'll be locked in the dark room. Sophia is scared. With that, she buried her face into my chest and began crying silently. Chapter 20. Oh my God, did I hear that right? A dark room? Our poor baby Sophia, how did she end up with such a monster for a father? This is heartbreaking. This scumbag was just parading around with Camila's bastard child, pretending to be a great dad. But this is how he treats his real daughter? My worldview is shattered. Call the police. Child abuse is a crime. He needs to rot in jail. On the studio's giant screen, live comments flooded the feed, all filled with rage, all condemning Luis. I held Sophia tightly in my arms and looked down at the man kneeling on the ground, completely frozen. With a calm but firm voice, I spoke. Sir, this child is already traumatized by you. If you have even the slightest bit of conscience left, please do not disturb us ever again. At that moment, Luis's manager suddenly burst into the studio. His face was pale, panic-stricken. Luis. Bad news. Several productions have demanded a lead actor replacement. If you don't step down, they'll pull their funding. And that's not all of your endorsements have been cancelled. Not only that, but the brands are claiming damages due to the negative impact on their image. They're demanding that you pay massive compensation fees. Luis's eyes widened in shock. His body stiffened before he scrambled to his feet. How is this happening? But the panic only lasted a moment. Luis quickly composed himself and straightened his posture. No need to worry. There's still Mr. Nestor. He's always admired me. He invests heavily in every one of my films. As long as I go to him, everything will be fine. The manager shook his head. It's useless. Nestor was the one who led the funding withdrawal. Luis, I just finished running the numbers. Even if you sell everything you own, it still won't be enough to cover your debts and penalties. Chapter 21. The live comments erupted into cheers and celebration. Finally! The scumbag is getting what he deserves. Blacklisted and bankrupt. Let's see how he keeps supporting his mistress and her bastard child now. But Luis had no energy left to care about the comments anymore. Instead, he turned to look at me, and suddenly, his eyes lit up. He took 2 quick steps forward. Luna, you were the one who introduced me to Mr. Nestor back then. You must have a close relationship with him. Please ask him to reconsider. Tell him not to withdraw his investment. Damn, so he's not just a scumbag. He's a full-blown gold digger too? This is the first time I've seen a man this shamelessly leeching off a woman. Someone find a way to make him disappear from this planet. I'll send a big rocket gift in support. Count me in. I'll send a sports car gift. I smiled faintly, watching Luis grovel before me like a desperate beggar. Then, I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Uncle Nestor, I sincerely apologize for the losses Luis has caused you. To make up for my mistake, I've decided to hire the best legal team to sue Luis to the very end so we can recover as much of our losses as possible. Luis's body went limp. His knees buckled, and he collapsed onto the floor. Luna, do you really not care about our marriage at all? Don't forget, we're still legally married. If I go down, you go down with me. WTF? Is he threatening her? He got what he deserved, and now he wants to drag Luna down with him? Disgusting. I ignored him completely. Instead, I motioned for Roma to bring me my handbag. Inside was the final divorce certificate my lawyer had delivered earlier. The moment Luis saw the words divorce certificate stamped with the official seal, his soul seemed to leave his body. He sat there, completely empty, completely broken. Chapter 22. After the explosive live broadcast, my career soared overnight. Movie offers poured in from all directions. Roma officially took over my career management again. I enrolled Sophia in a new kindergarten. Seeing how quickly she adapted to her new environment, I finally felt at ease and returned to filming. During a break on set, Roma suddenly grinned mysteriously and handed me her phone. Biggest gossip of the year. Check this out. I took the phone from her and looked at the screen. It was a recent photo of Luis. His hair was messy. His eyes were sunken. His cheekbones protruded sharply. He looked nothing like the glamorous superstar he once was. Your ex-husband got tricked and trafficked to Myanmar. Roma smirked as she spilled the details. By the time they rescued him, he was missing a kidney and had completely lost his mind. Now he's locked up in a psychiatric hospital, probably for the rest of his life. I blinked in mild surprise. Do you know who lured him there? Roma chuckled. Camila. My eyebrows lifted slightly. Roma continued with obvious amusement. Her ex-husband threw her into Myanmar first. To survive, she tricked Luis into joining her. When the police arrived to rescue them, Luis was holding a machete. He was in the middle of chopping Camila into pieces. The crime scene was so gruesome that even the officers who entered first threw up. I listened, but felt nothing. No shock, no pity, just indifference. I turned my gaze toward the distance. Sophia was playing with a little puppy, giggling with pure happiness. Seeing her like that, I smiled softly. The past had been painful, but the present was peaceful, and that was all that mattered.